So our UI isn't terrible, but we want to be able to edit these links and delete them. So it would be great for us to be able to add a edit link on here somewhere, maybe above the chart, and implement that. So let's go and start working on that. Our show page has that chart, so we can link to maybe edit, and we'll have at link, edit link path. And of course, our links controller is going to need a view and a action and all of that. But for now, let's add edit. Action edit cannot be found for links controller. So go to links controller. We will under create edit. We'll also add an update action in here as well. And probably a destroy. And we'll just fill these out, but we want edit, update, and destroy to also assign the link when we go to those controller actions. So now we can go into views. We can go into maybe, let's just create an edit html.erb file in here. We'll have an h1 for edit link. And we can render out a form. We'll say partial form locals. The link will be at link. And that edit page will have the form on it. We've already kind of implemented the form here on the index page, so we could replace this with a render partial form locals link and link.new. We could just make one in memory here in the view. That way we don't have to set a at link variable inside of here and the create, but that is probably better to do, because if we render the index and we just create a new link every time, if you're trying to display errors, it wouldn't be able to do that because you just made a new link and discarded the old link with the errors. So it'll be better if we do this and we say at link equals link.new. We could also say or equals, because when we're calling this and then that is going to assign link, it would override the at link variable we already had defined. So that would also override it. But if we do the or equals here, that will say, hey, if this link is already defined, let's skip it. But if it's not, let's make a new link out of it. All right, so now if we did everything right there, we should be able to render this. We need to move this form into a partial, which is what that error was telling us. Then we can paste this in. Instead of link.new, we will say link, because that's a local variable we were given. And now we have the edit link. And if we go to localhost, we will see this form still exists. It's the exact same form shared across the edit page and the home page, which is good. And now our links controller can call update, which is going to say at link update link params else render edit status unprocessable entity. So if it fails, we'll re-render the edit page. And if it succeeds, we'll redirect to the link. So let's imagine we want to change this to rubyonrails.org. We can save that, and now it will go to rubyonrails.org, and we are able to edit that link appropriately and change whatever. In case that blog post was taken down or something, we can still make our short link usable because we can't edit tweets or whatever. Wherever that link was embedded, that short link, we maybe need to be able to fix the URL that it redirects to, and that is now doable. The other thing we want to be able to do here is actually cancel. So our edit page, we can put like a little paragraph down here, and we can have a link to cancel, which would link to the link. Or we could have a button to, and maybe we'll do these on separate lines. And we could have a button to delete, and this would be to the link, but method delete. And we would also need data turbo confirm. Are you sure? And that would allow us to prompt the user. So we can either cancel or we can delete, which will prompt, are you sure? Cancel, we'll cancel that. Or okay, we'll actually go and send a request to the delete action. So here it started a delete for links E, but it didn't do anything because our action is empty, which is good. And the last thing here is we want to say form, either that or honestly we could say like class is flex gap 2 items center. The form and the button that wraps this with the pros from Tailwind CSS actually moves that onto its own line because it's a block, and this flex is going to make it all run inline. We can do gap 1 if we wanted to narrow that and make it a little closer. And then we could also say MT4 to give a little padding up above, something like that. Nothing too fancy, but it works, and you can style that later. And now we need to edit our controller so the delete action works. So here we go under destroy. We'll say @link.destroy, redirect to root path, and optionally we can put a notice link has been deleted. Voila. And this is links/E. So if we were to delete this, then if we go to /v/E, what will happen is active record not found. And this will tell us, that record no longer exists, which means our views controller should probably handle that case appropriately somehow. So with link with ID is 40, it's going to raise this active record not found. It's going to run that in the set link and application controller. We can do a rescue from in this controller, which will handle this separately from the other controller. So if we get that error, this will do whatever we want it to do. So in the views controller, whenever something fails, we may want to just render out a different template and have like a 404 template or something here. We could definitely do that. Another option is we could redirect to the home page. We could say redirect to root path and have an alert maybe, now that I'm thinking about it. Missing link. Something like that. So if we were to go to /v/E, it would take us to the home page, and we don't have anything right now to display those errors or alerts or notices. So if we go to layouts, application, we could, somewhere in here, we could have maybe if notice, and then also if alert, paragraph tag, maybe do class BG yellow 100. We'll print out the alert, the paragraph, and we can have text yellow 800. We could then do like rounded and then a PX or maybe a P2, something simple. Missing link. Maybe we want padding on the left and right to be a little bit different. So PX4, PY2. So if we were to go to /v/E again, we'll get missing link. Not too bad. We can even do like a text small, font medium. Go back. So V/E, missing link. Something like that. Not too bad. And then we could do the exact same thing for the other. Now, we could also probably do this in pure Ruby and say tag.p, class is this, alert, class, and then get rid of this stuff. and then have if alert at the end. So that would make this a single liner, which would be kind of cool. We could even do tag.p is probably good to do a paragraph because that'll have some margin on the bottom with tailwind. So that will give you some padding there, which is good. Then we could do the same thing here. Notice. And instead of yellow, we could replace that with blue. Yellow, blue. Boom. Cool. Now we have those little notices, which are great. So then we can go into any of these other ones and fiddle around. Cancel works, delete works, edit works. Really, we should go now back to probably adding something like a back button here on the show page would be nice. Let's go and try and fill out any of these other missing things that would be convenient to have. So here we'll do a link to back to all links, and this is going to be to the root path. And I really like using the ASCII arrow, which I'm going to copy to the clipboard real quick here. You can Google for the ASCII left arrow and you'll find this character and you copy paste it. And then our backlink now has an arrow that looks pretty nice. And we can do whatever we want to this to make it look more like a button. So we could say like no underline, text extra small. We could do px3, py2, rounded, BG gray 100, and we get a nice little button there. So here our H1, we could do class MT4, a little space between those. And what we might want to do for these two is have some output of the link at link description, if it has one. We don't have it yet. We might want, we definitely want the short code on here somewhere. So we'll probably need a copy button, but we'll probably want to make this the title and the description by default. And then if there is no title, we'll fall back to the URL or at least the domain or something like that. And then we can go through our index page here and start improving the way that these look. So for these, we really want to go into the link itself and then the index action as well. And we can do some design around these. So we can say, like, this has a margin top of 4 around each of these links so that when we are starting this list, we have padding between the form and the links. We could even do more. It's not too bad. And then we want to do like a flex column, gap 4, and we can divide Y and divide gray 100. What this would do is adjust each of these so that we have a divider in between. You see this little gray line in between each of those. We're going to make these flex items. And then that's going to be flex columns. So there'll be like a horizontal row of columns. And then we can go into these and decide what we want to do with them. So each of these now is going to be, so here, if you did flex, it would be one row with a whole bunch of things in it. But now we're going to swap that. So it's a flex column and we have everything in between them. And then you'll see this gap in between the items, which is good. And we're on our way to styling this. So now let's go into the link itself and work on how we want to display this. So it'd be nice if we had sort of a grid on these. So if we did like class is grid, columns, maybe 8 columns wide, then we could use these columns to display stuff accordingly. So maybe we have a link on the left, and then the columns for the other things. So we can fix probably the spacing here by adding padding on this grid here instead. We could see like PY4, and then we could get rid of like this gap 4, which should make this a little bit more consistent across, which is good. Looking good. And then we can really just focus on working on the individual links and figure out what content we want to have there and so on. So I know that I really want to have the views count here, and this views count would probably want to actually link to the actual link. So maybe we'll say pluralize views, and this will link to the link. Then we could print out in a section the div itself, and then we'll have like a copy button at the end, which maybe we'll just link to the link for now, and we'll work on that. And then this view path with the external link, we could put up here by the link, and we'll see how this sort of looks. And we'll say class call span maybe 5. This can have class call span 2 and possibly text center, so that our views count is aligned over on the left or on the right side, but in the center of that 2 columns. Maybe we'll have a ton of views at some point. We can also do like text extra small on these, class text extra small. Make the copy, we need a closing quotes there, make copy and views a little bit smaller. Then honestly, for our view link, we could put the URL inside of here too. And then this needs to be inline block so that it shows up inline. We could probably make that a little smaller, like W5, H5, something like that, maybe even tinier. But we are on our way to making this look pretty nice. We might want to do the same thing here, text center for this. And we'll do the treatment for buttons, and we'll say PX3, PY2, or maybe we do like PY 1.5, I'm not sure. Rounded, BG gray 100. That's not bad. No underline. There we get our little copy button, looking pretty good. We'll have to implement that next, but we could also add the same class details to this link. Class 0 views. So we'll make that a button, take you to that. We'll make this take you to the actual page. We get 1 view, and we're looking pretty good. We might want to shrink this down even smaller for the external link. And, you know, I'm pretty happy with that. I think we might want to do a items center on this so that all of those are aligned vertically. And then we can think about what we want to display on this view page. So I think we'll want to kind of take that same treatment for these copy buttons and apply that to the show page for edit. Say class. Edit, we can do maybe a div class text extra small. Because I would like to also have the view link on here. So maybe you do flex justify between items center. We can go into the link, grab the view path and the URL, paste that in here. And we could even grab this class for this link. And if we paste that in, now we should see, link should be at link on the show page. There we go. So here we get google.com, the external link. We can click it, go see that, and then edit over there. It's possible that we want to have like a total number of views as well. So we could even do a little thing here, tag.div, pluralize, at link, views, count. That's probably it, really. Wrong number of arguments, tag.div, plural, oh yeah, view. Then we get 2 views displayed here. I guess this may not be ideal if this URL is really long. So for example, in this one, if we click views, it starts to compress that a bit. So maybe that's not perfect. Maybe we want our edit and our views links up here in this section. So we could totally do that. Why don't we do that? Let's grab this. Let's put it up there. Let's grab this div. And then we'll have 3 sections up at the very top. We could even do div, class, flex, gap 4, items center, gap 4, and just put this on the right side and kind of put those next to each other, 0 views and edit. Then this can have like a nice prominent location for that. Or something, I don't know. It could be all kinds of different locations and places and whatever you might want to do. So it's entirely up to you. So let's go on this and add this text extra small to shrink that font down. This link is obviously not valid. We'll want to edit that, fix these. There we go. Click that. Go Rails dashboard, voila, 1 view now. And, you know, we're honestly in a pretty good spot. One of the things that I would like to do is to do this cool little thing while we're here. If we go to the link, next to the link URL, we can do an image tag, and we can use https www.google.com/s2favicons domain equals link.domain, and this will generate a little image tag that will embed the favicon of a domain. So if we were to go into our link.rb, and we have a method here called domain, we can use URI to parse the URL and grab the host out of that, which will be our domain. Then we'll see here, if we refresh, what we should see. Oh, this one, bad URI is not a valid URI. So if there's any errors, that's not going to work. So we'll want to rescue from that. From URI, invalid URI error, we can return maybe just nil and handle it that way. So here we get this little image for the favicon for all of our different domains that we've dropped in here. So if we were to put in, say, what's a good example? Jumpstartrails.com. We get the little Jumpstart logo on there. So our show will need this to be class inline block, but then we can have it as a little nice, beautiful inline block there. One thing I'm going to do with this is we're going to say class, no underline. So these links will have that underline removed. Click on view. And we could put the little icon here as well if we would like. So on our show page, trying to keep these UIs consistent, we can have that. And at link.domain, there we go. We get our little favicon there. Maybe this gray is not the best thing because that little image has a white background behind it. That might be something that is automatically included by the browser or the Google domains thing here. So that could be maybe improved a little bit, but that's all right. I'm going to add a links helper.rb, or maybe, you know what, let's maybe a favicon helper.rb, module favicon helper. We'll have a Google or a domain favicon URL for a domain. And we'll basically just make a little helper that will do this magic for us and return. We could either do a tag. So we can have it render out the image tag, or we could have it render just the URL. So the easiest thing would be just to start with the URL. And then we have the domain. Then we could also implement a domain favicon image tag and take the domain. Then this could be the image tag with the domain favicon URL for the domain. And then we could use Google favicon URL. Let's rename some of these to be a little bit more clear. And then we could use this favicon image tag for that. Favicon image tag. And then this would just come down to say @link.domain. And then we could pass in our options into the image tag. So this would be keyword args, and then keyword args are forwarded along. And if that works, we should see that this still is handled properly. Oops, this should not go in there. This should go in here. There we go. So now we have that functional on our show page. Special favicon image tag that we can use here that is just a regular image tag, but happens to know how to generate the link to Google domains or Google's little URL there for that, and that works. That's pretty cool. So this is going to, or should still work here on the index. We need to make sure we're not using the @link. We need to use the local link variable. And there we go. Now we're in a good spot where we can start implementing the title and the title description and the image URL lookup for these if we would like to, so that once we save this, we can set up a background job to go make an HTTP request, which can be slow, and grab the title and the other metadata, and then update our object with this, and then display that instead. So it'll be a little bit more useful. Just like on Twitter, they display the domain, they display the title and the description, and that is more user-friendly than just the full URL. So when we paste this in here, what we want to see is this displays the actual text instead of the title and the description, instead of this URL. And before we move on, let's go through our changes, git add-p. Let's look at some of these things we've done. We added the edit, update, destroy. We added the active record not found for the views controller. We added the domain helper. We added the alerts and notices. We updated the views for the index and the link and the show page. And what else did we do? We added the app helpers, favicon helper, app views, links for the form and edit. So we'll add all of those. We'll say update UI design as our commit, something like that. And we can move on to the next step.